Perfumery here, and another video to help you understand and learn a bit more about creative perfumery. We have a guest today, this wonderful tree. Hello, doesn't talk. It's actually Citrus aurantium or bitter orange tree. And there's a lot of confusion about the gifts this wonderful plant has to offer. There is neroli, there is orange blossom, there is bigarade, and there's petitgrain. All of those materials or perfume notes come from this little guy here. So, and in this video I will tell you what the difference is, how these materials might smell, and also we'll discuss some examples of Bloom Perfumery stocks. So, neroli and orange blossom, that comes from the flowers. The difference being method of distillation. Neroli is when you distill the flowers of this tree with steam. So it's a harsher method, so you get the more stable materials from this process. And orange blossom comes from the same plant, from the same flower, but orange blossom absolute is derived by a much more gentle method, not steam distillation, but volatile chemicals extraction. And that affects how the material behaves and smells. Then, petitgrain. Petitgrain is the product of leaves and twigs distillation. So naturally, apart from giving you a citrusy aroma, it's woody and, let's say, less recognizably citrusy. And then there's bigarade. So bigarade comes from the rind of a citrus. So when the tree has produced the bloom has produced a fruit, you pick the fruit, you put it in a giant like washing machine kind of drum, and it's a mechanical extraction. So oil simply goes through the holes in that drum, and it's called bigarade oil. Same tree, same plant, 4 different materials. And the most floral one would be, the most floral smelling one would be orange blossom. So let's start with orange blossom. We have these two, which I would use as examples. One comes from a house called Pierre Guillaume, and it's called Kyr Vinenum. So orange blossom, despite being a floral material or material coming from a flower, actually smells honeyed, ambery, and leathery. So don't expect jasmine-like aroma. It's much richer, much heavier, and sometimes when you smell the raw material, you won't even think that comes from a flower. And all of that is highlighted in a very good way in Kyr Vinenum by Pierre Guillaume. If you want orange blossom with more focus on the citrusy origin of the material, try 002 by Bon Parfumeur. This will give you still quite intense, quite rich orange blossom profile, but on a more citrusy side, without any leathery references. Neroli. Neroli, as I mentioned, is steam distilled, so you don't get the finer, deeper, sweeter layers you get in orange blossom. And we have quite a few neroli fragrances. The best neroli I've smelled in my life in this industry is Pure Jour by Fedon. And it's unapologetic neroli, with all the sharpness and the greenness and the zestiness you get from the natural material. Because very often, even if the perfume mentions neroli, or it's even in the name, it's a tamed neroli. It's a neroli where they sort of polished it so it will not offend anyone. Not in here. Expect sun, expect Mediterranean kind of breeze, sunny, very cheerful, almost on the verge of being green rather than citrusy. How did they do it? Well, by putting top grade neroli in the right company. Also, all other materials apart from neroli sort of highlight the beauty of the main theme. Sundrunk by Imaginary Authors. They describe it as a neroli perfume, but the company in which neroli resides in this formula is very different. So it actually is much softer compared to Pure Jour. If you know what to look for, yes, neroli is present here big time. But perhaps because they list First Kiss as one of the ingredients, it's much softer. It's a bit more playful, and it's not as green as neroli in Pure Jour. So, moving on. Petitgrain. Petitgrain somehow is not the most popular perfume material out there. I think partly because often it's part of the accord. For example, neroli accord is likely to include a bit of petitgrain oil. Maybe it's not stable enough, maybe it's hard to work with, because citruses could be very fleeting, or they could produce some nuances which do not smell that nice. But we have a house who loves to work with neroli, and they do it in the most outstanding way. Marie Jean, coming from Grasse, where neroli actually and orange blossom trees bloom when it's the season. And they have Lyon. Lyon is a citrusy perfume, and petitgrain is in the center of the composition. And Marseille is a bit more complex, but still, if you try it, you'll be able to recognize the note of petitgrain. And then we have another perfume from Pierre Guillaume here. It's called Appelez-moi Seychelles. It's a very complex story. It's more of a conceptual, artistic perfume where materials are not the story. Materials are means of telling the story, and it's about someone going to Seychelles, spending a very nice time there, getting suntan, and then flying all the way back to Paris. And then it's autumn, and that someone puts a cashmere sweater on. So it's a bit of a contrasting and quite complex formula, and neroli there is part of the memory of holidays. Sorry, not neroli, petitgrain. And the way it was interpreted, it smells like warm sand. How do they do it? I don't know, but it's delightful. And finally, bigarade, or bitter orange oil. Bitter orange oil is even harder to come across in the formulas than petitgrain, but we do have a couple of good examples. Why is that? I still need to ask perfumers why bigarade is not used that often. Maybe there are cheaper, more available and more stable citrusy notes to use. Maybe the production is not that big, maybe it's not that available, maybe it's not stable enough. That's my theory. So, bigarade is likely to be part of a classic cologne structure or style, and it's very present in Cologne Grand Siècle Intense by Pierre Guillaume in the opening, and then it's something else. Because no citrusy formulas are citrusy throughout. There's always something supporting citruses once they sort of leave your skin. And then there's this wonderful perfume, which actually contains all the ingredients you can get from petitgrain. So from bitter orange tree, sorry. It has petitgrain, it has neroli, it has orange blossom, and it has bigarade. It's Lacura from or by Mendita Rosa, and it's a soft, complex citrus perfume. It opens with bigarade, then it proceeds into orange blossom neroli duo, and then it settles into a very soft ambery dry down in about 3 hours. And it's an interesting combination, very rare. I don't know any other formula where all of these materials would be present, but it's a bit challenging to tell them apart. So if you want to learn about materials or learn how to recognize them, I would probably recommend smelling them as in when they're used on their own, rather than all of them in one formula. Also, to help people explore the le bigaradier, that's the nickname for this tree, theme in perfumery, we've put a sample pack together. There's a link in the description where you can actually sample everything I mentioned here, and hopefully this pack will help you to develop a better understanding of this wonderful tree and what it can do or what it can offer perfumers. Thank you for watching. See you here at our shop in Covent Garden. Otherwise, you can always go online and sample anything you wish from our website. Thank you. Bye bye.